Hello, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome. This should be an exciting session as I bring together the last few weeks. But before I get started, let's just make sure things are working. If you can see me, you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up in the chat. I'll just double check things, make sure it's all happy. All right, and I am assuming it's working, but yeah, if someone can say hello, tell me where you're coming from, where you're at, and we will get started. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. Just gonna stop that sharing. All right. So good. Thank you. Can hear you. Can you see me? I guess we assume that that's all working. Great. All right. So this is the wrap up of part one of the Leadership Intelligence Handbook, and it's exciting because the launch of that is coming. But what we're doing at the moment is I'm taking chapters from the book and sharing videos to help you when the book launches. You can actually work through that and watch the videos. Also, if you want to join a proper educational program where I actually take you through this in a masterclass workshop style, where you actually do the transformation together, do let me know. And I'm going to be sharing some exciting things today. So great opportunity that everybody's on board here, and we can dive into the presentation and some of the goodies that we have today. So anyone interested in the book, you can go to the biqorg.com website, go to books and register your interest there, and we will keep you posted throughout the launch that's coming up. So without further ado, let's jump into our presentation today. So let me get my setup right here. We'll just turn off that text so I can put me on the screen. And voila, the technology is working. All right, let's just put the chat up in case we have questions. Welcome, guys. This session is really the bringing together of the last four sessions. So if you missed any of those, you can go to, let's just stick that up in a moment, the BIQ.org website events, and you can access the past events from there, or you can go to my YouTube channel and get those. All right. So presentation, let's see if the slides are going to work. So the last 4 weeks we covered, let's see if we can just hide me for a sec. We talked about blind spots. We talked about clear thinking and leadership. We've talked about the emotional mastery and actions. And today is really a recap, but also bringing it all together and giving you some tools to actually take you through that and implement that. All right, so the goal is to create lasting change. And to do that, as I've mentioned many times, it takes practice. And it's not a magic pill. You do it for one day and you're done. It takes weeks of catching yourself, and we'll go through that process momentarily. All right. So the journey is really the leadership intelligence. We are the behavior intelligence organization, but the intent is to help coaches and leaders really get to that high level leadership intelligence. So if you're a leader, how can you influence your team better? If you're a coach, how can you help the leaders achieve those objectives? And all these tools and systems that we keep adding more and more to them, AI coming, etc., automation, is really to ease that process. Okay, it's not about the technology so much as it is about the outcome that you get from leadership intelligence and coaching at that level. All right. So we're going to talk about the 30-day transformation. We've touched on those in the past. We're going to talk about some of the events. Sorry, just making sure I have access to that. So we've talked about the transformation truth. If you're like so many people, reading books, attending sessions, gathering lots of knowledge, but not applying it, okay, that falls under entertainment. And that's fine. You're feeling good about it. What we're talking about is the implementation, the action of actually doing that. And that's where behavior comes into it. And, you've heard me talk about that also. Many times people can't read your mind. We don't know your intention. We can only observe your behavior. We only respond to your behavior. So if you do nothing, nothing will happen, right? So that might be enjoyable for you, but at the end of the day, we need to move forward with that. Let me just get this working again. Here we go. So the 4 sessions we've done from part 1 of the book. Part 2 actually has 6 chapters, so we will cover those over the coming weeks. And that will be very interesting because we dive into more of the behavioral aspects of the journey to becoming a great leader or coaching leaders. So we've covered blind spots. How do you identify those? What do you do about them? What's the process? Again, go and watch the video. We've talked about the biases and judgments that you need to watch for and how to identify those and what to do with them so that you can leverage them or you can manage them better. We went into the emotional triggers. That was a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about not just trying to suppress your emotion, but figuring out how to leverage those emotions in the right areas, the right way. And then finally, last week was about the actions of applying all of these learnings and how to take advantage of that. So today is really the integration of all of that. So before we get started, quick self-assessment for you. Ask yourself and rate yourself out of 10 on these, or the bonus will be Lisa, our leadership intelligence, self-awareness, self-assessment test that you can do. It's a short assessment survey that you can score yourself on these areas that I'm talking about. So how well can you recognize your blind spots? So you can do these on your own, or you can do Lisa. And I'll share the link for that later on. Your biases, how well do you catch yourself? Your emotional triggers, do you know them? Do you leverage them or do you suppress them? What are you doing with those? And then applying the action principles, and we talked about the FIRE method. And now we're really going to wrap all that together and look at the measurable results that you can get. And as I mentioned, I will be launching a masterclass for this. So if you're interested, do reach out and let me know. Or if you go to our biqorg.com website, you can access Lisa and the events as well as register your interest. Okay, I think I skipped a slide there. So the 30-day framework that we're really talking about today is, building the foundation based on those 4 principles that I've just touched on, developing your pattern interrupts to catch yourself, to change your behavior, and then building on those new behaviors so that you can actually get through the journey of transformation. And in the first 30 days, you should start to notice this, although it will take another 60 days to really move that from conscious, deliberate effort to unconscious, automatic response, okay, and behavior. So that's the intent, is to get everything so that it's automatic, unconscious, like brushing your teeth, driving a car, riding a bike, any of those things that you do automatically. You weren't born with them, you learned them, and that's really what we're doing here, is elevating the intelligence about our behaviors so that we can become better leaders and better coaches. So phase 1, again, this is a bit of a recap, but what you're doing is really identifying what practices and building that foundation of practice, okay? Installing basic awareness, beginning a pattern, right? Recognizing it, getting feedback, starting some measurements to do that, all right? So your daily questions, and these, again, I know I'm repeating myself, but for those that haven't watched the 4 sessions related to this topic, do go back. biqorg.com events will take you there, and you can access some of the past sessions or on the YouTube channel. So phase 1, the foundation, is really about the blind spots that we talked about. How many do you catch yourself doing, and what system have you put in place? Who is helping you to do that? Again, and also your biases, your emotions, your core principles on outcomes that you want to achieve, right? So go out, ask someone, what pattern do you notice about my leadership, okay? So that they can give you feedback on what you can do. Or do your AccuMatch map, get a guided interpretation from one of our coaches, and they will help you to map what people are telling you to your unconscious thinking styles and behavior patterns that show up. And that's really the power of AccuMatch, and the tool is creating that guided self-awareness with you, okay? And it's very important to do that. Phase 2 is your pattern interrupt. It's how do you get to the level of being able to catch yourself before those old patterns come into play. And that requires having someone help you do that, or having a method of recapping your daily patterns. Again, all of this is covered in those videos. Practicing those, and the more you practice them, it doesn't matter if you do it after the fact at the beginning. That's just natural. Allow yourself to be human. You can't just magically change these things overnight. It takes that practice to do that, okay? And all of this, you can work with a coach to do that, or you can start reaching out to people in your network to help you do that. The pattern interrupt is the first stage of breaking the pattern. That's what it means, okay? You want to break the old habit, you've got to find a way to interrupt it, okay? So people can help you do that. example and a tool that you can use. Okay, you need to identify the trigger that creates that old habit. All right. Then you need to identify an interrupt point. You need to get someone to help you to do that, right? In order for you to then practice the new behavior, the new way of behaving. Okay. And that's why we are focused on behavior intelligence, right? It's the behavior that other people respond to, not your intention, not your thinking. Okay. The thinking may have created your automatic behavior, but that's not necessarily true either. All right. They are just practice behaviors in certain situations. Your intention could be completely different from your behavior that you act out, which gets you the wrong result. Okay. Interrupt one pattern per day. Don't try to boil the ocean, as they say. You know, AccuMatch has 49 different behavior traits. We are never going to say change all of them. We just need to find one at a time and work on that. Often that one can have a ripple effect through your life, your leadership style, your engagement with people. And that's the key to starting your journey. Once you learn how to do one, guess what happens? You believe that you can change, right? But if you don't get one done, your beliefs can get in the way of, oh no, it's just the way I am, and becomes an excuse to continue to behave the way you are. So we're teaching you a method to learn to trust in the belief that you can transform yourself, you can change yourself. I often talk about reprogramming your brain, and that is in effect reprogrammed through behavior. Okay, you need to act out new behaviors in order for your brain to start to believe in those new behaviors and shift them from conscious habits or conscious behaviors that are difficult to unconscious ones. And you've heard me talk about my, I guess, my controversial thinking around strengths and sticking to your strengths. Well, some of your strengths can be a problem. And if you don't learn to reprogram your brain, practice new behaviors, you're not going to be able to shift those and rebalance yourself to be well balanced in what you're doing. Okay. Phase 3. Did I skip one? Nope. Okay. Is about consistency. Okay. So this is now getting into week 3, and the more you've practiced this, if you've done it enough times at the beginning, even if it's once per day, in week 2, maybe multiple times per day, we're now really getting into the consistency. And we've talked about perfectionism gets in the way. You don't need to get it perfect. You just need to make a stop, right? Just do it. Okay. So practice is really the critical element here. So habits, we know from neuroscience, it's the practice that actually shifts those neurons. The networks become myelinated with a sheath like a superhighway, and that's where the unconscious automatic response comes from. It's the speed of travel, if you like, as opposed to taking side roads versus a superhighway that gets you there instantly. Okay, and that's what happens in our brain. So consistency is more important. All right, and what your how you get there is, review your daily focus, your outcome that you want to achieve, build some pattern interrupts to help you do that, or get some people to help you with that, and then focusing on the purpose and outcome. What's the outcome that you are trying to achieve? If you don't have that in place, and some people like to work backwards from the outcome, and other people like to work forwards. It doesn't matter which direction you go, if it's right to left, left to right, front to back. All right. It doesn't matter as long as you develop the purpose and outcome as a result. There's no sense in just doing something for the sake of doing it. Yes, you're going to develop new beliefs about that, but it's much more powerful when you have an outcome that you want to achieve. Your brain, if you like, focuses your activity towards that outcome. Then we get into the last week of the 30 days. Phase 4 is the optimization. And, in business, I talk about process, automate, delegate, and what's left is yours. In this approach of turning things into automatic, unconscious responses, sometimes you might use some tools to do that. It might incorporate eliminating some of the things that are really not valuable. Maybe some of those strengths need to go away. Sustainable leadership intelligence practices is really about that process of repetition, okay? And repetition with a feedback loop. That's our humanity. That's how we learn things. That's how we develop our beliefs and our values, is through that testing something in the world and getting feedback. And feedback is physiological, just so you know. You can't get feedback without hearing, seeing it, tasting it, whatever, touching it, etc. Those are your only tools of getting feedback. Okay, so use it wisely and embrace it. Don't feel like you're being judged and deny it and go down that rabbit warren. Do embrace feedback, and that's important. And look, in the Acumatch map, if I just digress for a moment, we know who are the people that take feedback well and those that don't. And we've also seen it where people have been able to change that, okay? Getting someone who doesn't handle feedback well and teaching them how to do that, it's easy to do. It's one of those pattern interrupts that you can do with yourself or with others if you're coaching them to help them achieve that. Okay, so it's just one example, guys. There's just so many that you can achieve through this methodology, this process that we call behavior intelligence, to become a better leader or better coach. All right, so today you want to develop your roadmap. Okay, this is like your plan, your 30-day plan, if you like, then it's a 90-day plan. But the first 30 days are the heavy lifting, and that's why we focus on that. So pick your top areas that you want to focus on and put your energy into those top areas. Pick some medium ones, right? You'll get to those later, and some minor ones. And depending on how well you score on your LISA score, you'll be able to take advantage of that. I don't know if I can pause this while I change screens. Let me just try that here. What does LISA look like? Excuse me while you look at the top of my head for a moment. All right, so this is the starting point for LISA. So it's biq.org.com/LISA, and you'll want to come here and register. As soon as you register and get started, it will take you through the assessment, the self-awareness assessment, and it starts with your drivers and goes into all these other areas. So back here, let's go back, and we might just check that that's working properly. All right, so moving right along here. So your template, let's review some of these things. Your blind spots, right? Week 1, right? Your daily pattern practice. You're going to practice those behaviors. You're going to add the weekly feedback into that, and the pattern catching within that, right? So end of day, weekly review, and monthly review. Again, I'm reading that off the slide, but if you go back to those videos, it covers these steps really well in those videos. Okay. The clear thinking pattern, all right? So this is now about the biases and judgments. Again, you've got your 4-week plan there. Okay, and you want to understand those biases, how they show up, when they show up, how to use them to your advantage, or which ones are getting in the way and which ones you should adjust to different people, because everybody on your team and every client that you coach is going to be unique. So you can't use the same approach with everybody. You need to identify what is relevant for them. The emotional mastery, again, that session, we talked about the FIRE method, right? You need to stop yourself when you feel that emotion, right? Investigate the reason for it. That's the FIRE method, right? Then learn to regulate your response and engage new intentional behaviors as a result of that. So again, go back and watch that. It's going to be very useful in your transformation journey. Then finally, the action, okay, focusing on your core principles, the purpose, your culture, whatever it is that you want to have as your outcome really needs to be clear and well-defined so that you can measure how well you are doing against that. That's the action implementation side of things. Okay. So your dashboard should look something like this, and we're going to cover this in the masterclass / workshops that we're doing so that you can actually develop your dashboard and track your success and journey through that. And you'll be able to do that with coaches. If you want to have a coach work with you on that, do reach out and we'll connect you with someone if you don't already have somebody. All right, so weekly metrics, what patterns, what are the biases, the judgments, the emotions, the core principles, how will you track that, okay? And if you don't measure things, you'll never know if you made progress. It'll just be, it feels like we've done that, I've achieved that, but there's no evidence to support that. When you have the evidence, it makes it tangible. You can see it, you can look at it, you can actually question it, which is a really powerful part of having data, is it allows you to look at anomalies and question them and so forth. So if you don't measure things, how can you do that? It's just intuition. It feels like I did, right? It's not, in my language, it's not science. Being a behavior scientist, it's important for us to support things with evidence, with data, with able to repeat it and get the same result. That's what science is all about. So when we're talking about AccuMatch and behavior intelligence, it's been proven, okay? Everybody that's using these tools consistently gets results. Mm-hmm. And that's the power of science. We don't launch something, we don't launch new medication without the evidence that at least 80%, preferably 90% of the situations, that's what the medical field uses as a gauge. If they can get a consistent result with 80 to 90% of the population that uses that drug, it becomes a feasible product to launch. Where with Acumatch and behavior intelligence, we're beyond that 90%. Okay. There are exceptions, but they are rare. Okay. And it's repeatable, it's able to be achieved. And that's the great part of that. Creating accountability is important. That's why you have coaches, or you can try and hold yourself accountable. Some people can do that really well, by the way, but they tend to be, I'll put them in the anomaly basket. Okay. Most people need external feedback. They need external accountability. Creating an environment that helps you do that, that helps you track that. So you actually turn the intangible, the invisible into tangible information. You can use that tangible information. Again, why Acumatch is so powerful. It's a map. You can see it. You can see the change that happens over a period of time. You can redo your map and you can actually see the progress that you are making. Okay. That's super, super powerful. All right. So you need to preferably choose someone that's going to help you with that. Okay. If you want to change quickly, that's what you will need. You need to allow yourself to be vulnerable, right? Be humble. You're not perfect. No one's perfect, right? And so pretending and hiding behind the screen of, oh, I can't show my imperfections. I need to show up as someone who knows what they're doing. Get over yourself, right? You're human like the rest of us. You will make mistakes. If you want to change, you need that feedback loop put in place. That's what makes coaching so amazing, is people accelerate their success, their journey by working with a coach. Okay. You don't need to have a coach. You can have a mentor in your organization. Okay. You can have different people that you trust, that you feel comfortable to allow yourself to be vulnerable with those people. Okay. So it doesn't have to be open, slathered. So everybody can see that vulnerability. If you're afraid of that, sure, there are ways to work through that. Okay. Weekly questions, right? So, you need to ask them to make sure that they are holding you accountable and giving the feedback that you want. So here are some questions that you can ask, right? What did you focus on? What did I focus on? Did I achieve it? Did you recognize me doing that? And asking them questions as well. Okay. Obstacles. Excuses. Right? I don't have time. Okay, you can afford 5 minutes while you're having a coffee, sit down with someone. That's an excuse, right? I forgot to practice, so it's all screwed. It's never going to happen. That's just being human. We all have the and again, it's a pattern interrupt. You can have your routine established and then something happens, interrupts it, and you forget to brush your teeth, or you forget to take your medication, or whatever it is. Those pattern interrupts happen and you're just human. The trick is pick yourself up and say, oh, that's an exception. All right. Don't make it a rule. If you don't see immediate results, this is one of the tough ones with leaders. It's so much easier being, a tradesperson where you make something, you get results. As a leader, you do all these things. You don't get instantaneous feedback from the team. It's gradual. It's almost invisible. It's so slow and gradual, you don't even notice it, right? It's like your hair growing. Most people don't notice the fractions that occur on a daily basis until it's long, and you go, oh, you got to get a haircut, right? The same thing happens in a leadership journey. My old patterns feel easier, of course. That's the whole Strength Finders philosophy is, don't work on the hard stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, you need to work on the hard stuff, right? This is the stuff that is part of transformation. You can't transform if you just keep doing what you've always done, because the stuff that you haven't done before is uncomfortable, it's hard, it's difficult, it's all of those things. It is going to be hard, it is going to be difficult at the beginning only, all right? It's like going to work out for the first time and you're going to have those sore muscles. Yes, but that will go away when muscle memory kicks in and becomes automatic unconscious. Okay. So your 30-day sustainable growth, right? So this is a journey. That's why I say it's not going to happen overnight. Most of these programs are really 12-month programs, right? If you want to have the longevity of the transformation, you need to keep it going. We always talk about a 3, 6, 12 program, so that's 21 months, right? And it's the first 3 months are the heavy lifting, the hard work, the catching yourself daily, etc. The second 6 months is more or less a making sure you don't go back to your old habits. So it's less intense. And then we just do an additional 12 months to make sure that you have a reminder to stay on that path. Okay. Often in that time, you then identify other things that you want to work on and you start working on something new. And you begin at the beginning again, right? There are a number of different models out there. I was just thinking very quickly, the unconscious competent journey to being competent unconsciously, automatic unconscious pattern. I forget who launched that, but it's just one of those models. This is exactly the same thing, but we're actually looking at it with very specific behaviors that we want to work on. Okay, so how do you do that? All right, so continue your training, your knowledge. Peer coaching is an option. We call it P2PA, peer-to-peer accountability. That is super, super powerful. It just makes it easy when, if you're a coach working with someone, you only see them once a week or less. You're not there every day to help them with this. So they need a peer person that is there every day with them, okay? And with our virtual environment, that's even harder, because then you've got people that are on their own every day. And we need to build a new method of doing that. And automation is great. There's lots of tools that we use to help do that. Leading others through transformation, contributing to the leadership intelligence community. We have the BIQ network, but you don't need to be part of our network. You just need to really practice this within your own networks, at the very least, with other people. Okay. So complete these statements. All right. This is creating a transformation commitment. You need to not just do them in your head. I'd like you to document those and send them out to someone who will hold you accountable to that. Okay. Reach out to someone and say, okay, my number one transformation priority this month is, okay, in 30 days, I will have accomplished X. Okay. My accountability partner is you. Right? And we will measure this by these results. Here is what I'm looking for to improve as results, the outcomes. And when I face obstacles, what will I do? Right? So, again, write these 5 down. You'll have access to these video later, so you can actually rewatch this if you want, but do this and send it out to somebody that can hold you accountable. Community is powerful, right? And I say that because imagine you're on stage, okay, in front of 100 people, 1,000 people, it doesn't matter, and you commit to these things out loud to that audience. If you show up again and you haven't done these things, how can you stand up there and say this again? But if you've done them, right, you set an example, not just for yourself, for your beliefs, your values, but for others. You go, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's the power of community, right? To support each other, to help each other, but to also create that opportunity for people to allow themselves to be vulnerable in public, to be comfortable with that and get the support. When you're down and it's not working, you want to have that support to help you through that. Okay, so community is important. Your transformation starts now. Don't just sit on it. Do your 30-day plan. Do your Lisa assessment. Again, it's biqorg.com/Lisa. Hit that button, put your information so we can send you your results and keep you posted of the masterclass that's coming, and as well the launch of the book, right? Everything that I'm teaching you here is in some ways in the book, with practice sessions, with situations, strategies. It's really an amalgamation. It's no fluff. There's no stories in there. I'm sorry, I'm not a storyteller. There are actual situations that you can then look at the context and ways to practice in new behavior. Okay. So I hope you got the intent from today, the key takeaways, your transformation practices. You need to practice that. You can leverage people to do that. You need that feedback loop. And start small. You don't need to start with anything huge. Just pick one little thing. And the reason you do that, the old philosophy of tackle the big rocks first or eat a frog in the morning. I'm not a person that buys into that. I'd rather get little wins early, right? In order to reprogram my brain so that it believes that I'm able to do that, okay? Because then I can do something bigger, and I know that I can do those things. And I've been doing it for a very long time, guys. I'm human just like you. You can do it, okay? Questions you might want to ask yourself. I'll look for questions on the chat, okay? And the things that you want to look at, I'm just looking very quickly at any questions there. I don't see anything that's standing out, but if you have questions, do post them. We'll try to respond to all the questions as they come up. The YouTube channel is a good one, but if you need to access these events, let's see if I can show you that and stick that on the screen here. Right. So biqorg.com/events. If you need to contact me, there's my email there. You can reach out. If you're interested in the books, there are past books and new books coming out. You're able to access those. Again, it's biqorg.com/books, or just click it on the menu. So lots of useful stuff there. All right, so that's it. Recognize your patterns, your thinking, your emotions and actions. Keep it aligned to your outcome. Let me just go back to our beginning slide here quickly. Okay, so what we've done is taken part 1 of the book, and it has 4 chapters. So I've conducted 4 sessions on each chapter, and this session is the recap to put your plan together on what you're going to do with that. So I hope you enjoyed that. I look forward to seeing you next week when we jump into part 2 of the book, where we dive into a lot more behavioral stuff and more specific things that you can work on. And enjoy. See you next